Alright, hello. Apologies for the delay. I started the stream right into qualifying, but the stream just did not show up on YouTube account. I'm hoping it shows up this time around. Yes, there we go, there's the stream. And now it worked, okay. No idea why it didn't work earlier, but yeah, we missed the first lap in qualifying now by T-Bay, 16.5, and wow, that's a big gap to P2, 1.1 seconds. And then Jimmy, 26.1, way off the pace. There we go, 16.4 from Relentless Coxie. And Lewis, 15.3, puts almost a full second on him on his first run there. Yeah, just gonna go through the intro real quick again. We are here for the 8th round of DKM Season 2 at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez in Mexico for the Mexican Grand Prix. Yeah, my name is Enela Phoenix 1. I'll be taking you through the action tonight as your commentator. Unfortunately, no commentator tonight, I'm on my own. Yeah, we're hopefully in for a very exciting race. I think Mexico is a pretty tricky track. The S section, of course, as we just see exactly what can happen. Neon spinning out for the S's and losing his front wing, which actually is now right in the middle track. Thankfully, the damage settings in this lobby are set to reduce, so you can't actually get a puncture by driving over it, so it shouldn't affect other drivers. Yeah, also, of course, a very long run down into the first corner. In general, I mean, two very long straights on this track, which are great overtaking opportunities. Especially the main straight, of course, is insanely long. On the first lap as well, with how early the start-finish line is, allowing for a very interesting start most of the time, where you often see people going 4 or 5 wide as the slipstream kicks in over the course of the straight, as Neon is now crashed out, going past the pit entries right in the racing line. I'm expecting times somewhere in the low 115s or high 114, at least from the front runners. So I was a bit surprised when I saw the first few laps coming in and they were all in the 16s, but there we go. Lewis did then end up proving me correct, 15.3 at the moment. I think we will see other drivers get close to that later on in the session. I'm sure there is more pace in pretty much every other... Yeah, there we go. Liam, 15.2 into P2 now, bridging that gap a little bit, 3 tenths behind and 4 tenths in front. So I think most people might actually have had a terrible first lap here, considering how far off Lewis they are. You can see Andreas and Forzan as well on a lap, both CPI cars. In terms of the championship standings, we still have, of course, Relentless leading the standings on 168 points, followed by CPI on 117, then X on 108, so that's the top 3 at the moment. Relentless looking very comfortable at the top, and more than likely on their way to take this championship. Only 3 races to go now, but anything can still happen, I guess. All it needs is one bad race and CPI could be right back in there. Well, assuming CPI would then also get a good race at the same time, but yeah, here we have the house of Gonzalo. I hope that's pronounced correctly. Going over the line for ASAC. 16.8 into P9 for him at the moment. We've got CPI Andreas in the final sector here as well, but he's actually abandoning the lap. What about Forzan? Is he pushing still? Seems to be. A 56.2 in middle sector. That is purple apparently, but I'm never sure if you can trust the purple sectors in this game or not. So down with him here is Brain now actually has left the session. Not sure if he's disconnected. I assume he's disconnected. Hopefully he can get back in quickly. He's currently in P4. Forza now around the final corner and over the line is going to be a 15.625 into P2. 3 tenths behind Lewis, 1 tenth ahead of Liam. His teammate Andreas, of course, abandoning the lap. He's now in P12. Currently last out of the people who actually set a lap. Andreas now going again here. We will see if he is able to improve on his first sector. Not sure when he ended up abandoning the lap. He is 5 tenths up in the first sector alone, so he might actually have made a significant mistake in the first sector. That's why he even abandoned the lap in the first place. Stays in 4th gear all the way through this this little technical section of the track right here, and now sends it into the S section. Has to lift just a little bit to keep the car planted. Stay in 6th gear all the way through. Careful to keep it within track limits. And now approaching the final sector, it's up by 3.5 seconds. So yeah, big improvement from Andreas. And now this is where he abandoned the lap last time around. Bray is now back in the session. Let's see if Andreas can get close to his teammates, can put himself in the front row maybe. And around the final corner, can he even beat Lewis? How much is he up by? He's gonna set a 1:15.685, very close to his teammate, into P3. But Lewis still comfortably at the top there. We also have, I believe, Flores just starting a lap here, going through the first triple chicane and heading down into the second of the two chicanes, turn 4 and 5. He's up by 74,000 on his previous best, which was a 22.9, so that's, yeah, 6 seconds off the pace of anyone, so certainly some kind of big mistake in that lap, and likely we'll be seeing a big improvement from him on this lap. And indeed, he is now purple in the middle sector as well, and he's up by 4 seconds, so looking like a good improvement. We'll see as he comes up the final corner, what his actual lap time will be. Flores around the final corner and going over the line now, it'll be a 1:15.477. P3 as well, the 15.467. Only 10 thousandths of a second ahead of the IRT man, so very close there at the front. The likes of Mike and Shadow as well, trying to complete the first lap in the session lap on an out lap. He's got T-Bay as well now on his second lap, I think, but he's down by 3/10 in the first sector, so has made a major mistake in that first triple chicane. Very, very difficult part of the track anyway. So that might be why he's struggled in that particular part of the track. And he's now actually abandoned the lap as well, so seemingly not happy with it at all. Even after the few more corners in that lap being done. You've got Liam going into the final sector here. He's up by 4/10, so a big improvement coming from NLR Liam. He could end up close to his teammate on the front row if he brings it over the line, but he doesn't! Going into the final corner on the outside, he just goes a bit too far over the curb on the left hand side. Over the white line in the process and gets an invalidation. Good force starting a lap here. We've got Jimmy 1/10 up on the first sector, so Jimmy looking to improve. Currently 16.4, he's in P8, 3/10 behind Bray, who himself is 4/10 or 3.5 behind Liam. So top 6 at the moment. A little bit in the world of their own compared to the rest of the field, but I'm sure that will change in due course. I think most of these guys do have more time or more pace in them. You can see now how much is Jimmy up by. There we go, yeah, 4.5 Jimmy looking to break into the 115s here. But interesting to see that. I don't think we'll be seeing anyone break into the 114s, at least based on the lap time we see now. Jimmy, bit of a mistake there coming out of the hairpin, and that will certainly have lost him some time. The question is he still gonna end up improving? Yes, he is. He's still in the 115s actually, 15.941, even with that mistake. So chances are, without that mistake, it could have been very close to the likes of Liam and the two CPI cars in P4 and 5 maybe. Not sure how much time he actually lost with that mistake, in all honesty. Got his teammate, T-Bay as well. Let's see if he's improving for the second sector. Yes, he is, close to 4/10 gain, so he's looking at a 16.4, but he goes wide into the same section, gets away with it, no invalidation, but will certainly have cost him time. Does get the car rotated in the end into the hairpin at least. And now through the final corner, wants to be on the power early as possible. Sticks on the inside and over the line. What will it be for T-Bay? Will he be in the 115s? No, he won't. Barely. 16.016. Both QT drivers. Very close together there. And both of them with slight mistakes in the final sector of the lap. So more pace, I would say. Yeah, available for those guys if they can get the lap together. Shadow running out of fuel here, so he's not going to be able to complete this lap. Mike on an out lap. We've got Gonzalo once again. I think on a push lap, yeah, he's low on ERS, and he's actually down by 60,000 of a second after the middle sector, so not looking all that good. And he's already 4/10 away from anyone else anyway, so he needs a big improvement here if he wants to get himself further up the grid. As he goes around the final corner, can he get that improvement in the final sector? No, he can't. He actually almost spins the car. Does manage to save it, but he has to go back to the pits, get it fresh of tires on and try again. We also have Andreas who's up by 1.5 tenths, so he's looking to beat his teammate, potentially also break into the top 3 of Flores, Wessel and Lewis. We actually haven't seen Lewis leave the pit since his first run, so he is very happy with that banker lap apparently. And there we go, Andreas 15.380, it gets very close to it, 9,000 of a second behind Lewis's pole time. And I think that is nobody. Oh no, Mike's on the lap at the moment. There we go. Currently P15, the only driver still in this session who hasn't DNF'd and also has not set a lap. 28.758 in the first sector. The RDR driver. I believe he's on his own today as well. His teammates, his team only fielding one driver for today's race. So he's gonna have to carry them all on his own, make sure they can get some points off this race anyway. They are sitting currently in P9 in the standings on 24 points. So they'll be hoping to add to that tally. And 57.302 in the middle sector. Only a few more corners to go for Mike. Looked like a pretty clean lap. Not the fastest lap in the session for sure, but no major mistakes, and it's going to be a 16.937, which is enough to get himself off 15th place and beat Shadow. And he's only about a 10th behind Gonzalo on P13. So I think, yeah, those three seem to be the, at least as of now, the bottom three secured. Unless, I mean, maybe one of them has some more pace. They'll have to gain about 5 tenths in the case of Gonzalo and Mike, and then close to a full second in the case of Shadow, who actually comes out the pits and immediately spins the car. So that's not exactly a good sign, I would say. We do have Lewis now starting a lap. Currently our pole sitter, 15.371. Is he going to be able to improve on that? That was his first banker. So that is very promising. If his first banker is faster than what anything anybody else in this lobby can manage with 2 laps, looking good for Lewis. I mean, some I think even have done 3 laps at this point. Lewis only now doing his second and final run. Keeps together the first triple chicane. We'll see in just a moment if he's gained. It looked like a very good line from the first 3 corners. And indeed, he's up, but only slightly. 24 thousandths in the first sector. Gets the car rotated nicely from the second chicane. And down into turn 6. The little awkward hairpin there and out the corner, very early in the power, into the S's, all the way over the curb, on the entry and over the exit as well. Now, very nice lines from Lewis, short to 7th. Has to lift a little bit to get the car rotated and keep the rear planted as well. Dia is open now for the third DRS straight on his lap. He's up by 3 tenths. Big improvement from Lewis. And now only 1 sector to go. The stadium section here, always a very, very nice spot for pictures. Not that great for racing though. And into the final corner. Very nice rotation from Lewis. And over the line, what will it be? Will he be in the 114s? Lewis, 1:15.008. Barely missing out on the 114s. But he is 3.5 tenths away from anybody else right now. Lewis, seemingly, in an absolute world of his own today. Unless somebody else has a massive amount of pace in them. Wessel, Bray just finished on lap 15.4, big improvement, 6 tenths gained, and he is up into P3. Wessel starting a lap now. Our championship leaders Relentless currently in P10 with Coxie and Rocco opting to not do any laps, so not a great showing for those two at the moment. Hopefully for Relentless they can improve. Andreas actually is going to go again as well. Stay on with Wessel for now, as I think he is the furthest on the lap out of the leading group. Yes, he is, okay. So Wessel, he's apparently up by 5 tenths, but he hasn't actually crossed the first sector yet, so that is some sort of visual glitch. He is up, he is up by 1.5 tenths. So Wessel looking to beat his teammate, looking to beat Andreas, and if he can gain a little bit more time through the middle and final sector, he might also have a go at Lewis, but that will be a lot of time needed to gain. Close to, close to 4.5 tenths between him and Lewis in the moment. And that's it! Wessel loses it, going through the S's and goes into the wall. That's his qualifying completely over, and he's not going to be able to improve by anything now. Flores, 89 thousandths down in the first sector. Andreas, 83 thousandths up. Forzan, he is down 46 thousandths. Liam has invalidated this lap. Liam is done as well. What about the rest of the field? Coxie down by 3 tenths. Jimmy and T-Bay, I think, is both invalidated. Taube is spun. Gonzalo is starting a lap now. Mike is up by nothing, actually he's down. We go back on board to Andreas, who's up by 2 and a bit tenths, close to 3 tenths. Might be enough to beat Lewis. You can get a perfect final sector here. The CPI driver wanting to compete with NLR Lewis now into the final corner. Can he beat him? Can he break into the 114? That's what he needs to do realistically. And around the final corner over the line 1:15.064. He's very close, but missing half a tenth in the end. Flo is jumping into P3, 15.457. Forson as well with a small improvement coming here, I think. Oh, actually a pretty big improvement there. 3.5 tenths. P3, 15.269. So 2 and 3 for CPI as of now, and I think they will stay that way as only Coxie is still out on track and his lap isn't valid. So that's it. Qualifying is done. Lewis takes home pole position away. Takes pole position, followed by the 2 CPI cars of Andreas and Forza, and then Flores for IRT in P4. It's a full X third row with Bray and Wessel in P5 and 6. And then I think it was Liam in P7 if I remember correctly. After that I actually do not remember. So we'll go through the rest of the grid. There we go. Liam P7. And then we have Jimmy in P8, T-Bay in P9, QT in 8th and 9th as well. Coxie, the first relentless driver, in P10, ASAC Lab in P11, Taupe in P12, Shadow in P13, Gonzalo in P14, then Mike in P15, and Neon and Rocco having DNF'd early on. Rocco retiring in the pit straight away and Neon crashing out at the final corner. So that's your full qualifying rundown. Relentless, our championship leaders in P17 and P10, not looking too good. Meanwhile, second place, CPI in P2 and P3. So potentially a good chance for CPI to get the foot back in the door in this title fight at the moment. Relentless on 168 and CPI on 117 points. So big points, 51 points in favor of Relentless. A mountain to climb for CPI really. But this does give them that first step has been taken, I would say. Significantly better qualifying. And of course, at this track, with how long the main straight is, there is a good chance they could slipstream ahead of Lewis into turn 1 on the first lap here. The start-finish line very early on the main straight. The run down to turn 1 on the first lap is immensely long. So it might actually be an advantage to be in P3 or P2 instead of on pole, so you can actually get that slipstream from the car ahead and get a slingshot, pull ahead and stay ahead as well, because ERS recovery on this track is not that great. So if you're trying to get through the field, if you're starting at the back, it's going to be a very difficult task, because once you burn your ERS to get past someone, it's very difficult to recover ERS again. Takes a long time, if you even get back anything at all in the first place. And that'll be interesting to see how those guys in the back, the likes of Neon and Rocco, who could probably have been further up the field, will do with that formation lap now, I think. Yeah, formation lap. Can see what tire strength will have gone for. We've got everybody on the hard compound, with one exception, IRT Taupe, and we also have Coxie immediately spinning the car. I'm not sure if that's strategic to get the tires warm, or if he's just made a mistake and dropped it. I have to say, it's looking very cloudy, but I was told there wouldn't be any rain, so I'll trust that report I got. But might want to look out for, I guess, if I see those clouds getting even thicker, then there might be a chance of rain later on. So not really many alternative strategies being called for. Only the one in IRT Taupe in P12. So I guess we'll see if he can fly up the order in the first few laps. Of course, as I said, very difficult to recover ERS, so I think making a lot of moves is tricky. You're gonna have to be very conservative with that ERS to make sure you have enough to go for those moves later on when you're actually fighting for positions on pace, because I'm sure that I'm thinking about the likes of Rocco and Neon at the back. I think they have more pace than where they are on the grid. Especially Rocco, I know he's a very fast driver. Neon as well last weekend finished in, was I think oh no, I actually didn't finish in the top 10. I thought he did. His teammate did. Okay, that's what confused me. Yeah, there we are, lining up on the grid. Lewis, actually way ahead of anybody else. He's lined up now. And the order seems to have completely changed over this formation map. Nobody's actually held position. But yeah, driver's lining up now, and once... Oh, Forsen actually disqualified in the session. I think he probably... Yeah, I think he must have parked wrong incorrectly. Rocco as well, Andreas as well. So both CPI drivers will start pretty far away from their white line, their grid spot. Yeah, you can see they are parked far away, and Lewis, advantage for him. You can see how far Forsen is away from that white line. Well, the 5 headlights are blocked by an advertising board. We're still on with Lewis to see them, and it's lights out, and away we go. Lewis getting away pretty well, I think. But Andreas already, I think, pulling alongside. Yes, a good start from Andreas. Bad start from Forsan, though. And Flo is up to P3 immediately. Forsan down to P6, down to P5, actually. And Lab has left the session already. Lewis keeping lead in turn 1. Andreas behind. Flois and Bray fighting over P3. Flois coming out ahead. Jimmy trying to slip through as well. And Forsan trying to fight back after the bad start. Around the edge of Jimmy. But can he get... Oh, he can actually stay alongside. I thought he wouldn't. But now the 3-wide with Liam getting involved as well. Down into turn 4. Looks like Forsan has the advantage on the inside line. Liam had to pull out of it. Forsan and Jimmy still side by side. Forsan now trying to hang around the outside. Jimmy still hanging in there. And now finally Forsan pulls ahead. Although Jimmy comes back at him. Slips off the inside. And they're still side by side heading into the S section. But now, finally, surely, Jimmy has a good position. Forsan secures 5th place. Liam trying to find a way past him. But he wasn't able to actually pull alongside significantly. Meanwhile, Lewis already building a gap at the front, 7 tenths to Andreas. He wants to get him off the S range if possible. Flows as well with a good start, slipping through. Bad start for Wessel as well, he's down to P8. I think he started in P5 or 6, something like that. And a big crash here in the 3rd sector. I think that's actually Coxie. And I think Rocco has wing damage as well, so nightmare for Relentless. Both cars involved in an accident on the first lap. Wessel as well into the pits, Rocco into the pits. Both wing damaged, I assume. T-Bin into the pits, Coxie staying out, and Lab as well into the pits. That is 4 pit stops on the first lap, all I assume with wing damage. They're probably switching on to a medium strategy to go to switch to a 2-stop now. Yeah, the top 3 runners, top 5 already pulling away, pulling 1 second to Jimmy, and they aren't actually that close to each other either. They are barely within a second, most of them, or closer to 1 second than they are to side by side at least. So it does seem like the likes of Lewis, Andreas, and Flores are faster than the cars behind them and should actually stay in those positions, especially seeing as Bray is now barely holding onto the ES. And the same goes for Flores and Andreas, and then Andreas and Lewis. They do seem to be in the correct position pace-wise, as Lewis is pulling ahead. We now have a VSC being deployed. At least, yeah, it's only a VSC, no full core safety car. I don't see a safety car out on track. This will give drivers an opportunity to just recharge the ERS and, yeah, mainly recharge the ERS. I don't think they'll have to cool down the tires after just 2 laps. Not that they don't need to anyway, considering they're on hard tires, they shouldn't overheat. So yeah, VSC now neutralizing race. Got Gonzalo in the pits. I assume also for a wing change. Don't see why you'd pit this early on otherwise. Don't think it's worth it even under VSC to go for a 2-stop, but yeah, he is going for a wing change. Thought so. He's not gonna come out ahead of Wessel, Rocco and T-Bay, so I'm not sure if he had the wing damage on the first lap, but if he did, this was a pretty good strategy call to wait for some sort of virtual or full safety car so he could pit for a wing change with less time loss, and it certainly gained him a lot of time as he is way ahead of the other people who made the pit stop on the first lap. VSC actually still out on track. I'm waiting for it to be called in. We should be getting to green flag soon. The VSC's been out for almost a full lap, and oh! Both Flowers and Bray with drive-through penalties. And Gonzalo as well. 3 people getting drive-throughs there. And that is now completely thrown a spanner into this race as 2 of the top 5, well, are gone basically. They're gonna fall back significantly. You've got a yellow flag in the middle sector as well. Not sure who that was for. Forsan will now back up to P3 once those 2 serve their penalties. Andreas and Lewis will be all on down the front, with Lewis almost outside the second as well. They aren't serving the penalty yet. They really should, because if the safety car comes out now, they will have to serve it after the safety car. And when Lewis well, they could have regained the time with us under safety car. They would definitely want to serve it as early as possible. Forzan going for the move on Bray up the inside. Into turn one, rather easy move as Bray does not have the ES to defend. T-Bay getting a 3-second time penalty as well. He's currently down in P16. He was one of the drivers who pitted on the first lap for a wing change. Bray somewhat close to Forzan, but not able to fight back. The DRS detection point is just before the final corner for both the first and second DRS straight, which is a bit weird. I'm not sure why they never added the second DRS detection point for the second DRS straight. And I mean, the first DRS straight is so long, you can easily fly by, and then you get DRS again for the second DRS straight. Seems a bit counterproductive for the racing. You could probably fight back easier if the second DRS straight wasn't actually given to the car that was overtaken on the first, but I'm sure they have some sort of reason for why they've done that. Jimmy now with a penalty as well, so both QRT drivers with penalties early on in this race. Flo is still not serving his penalty, and neither is Bray. I don't think Gonzalo is serving either, so all three of them. Oh, Mike now with a spin! I just saw him flicking through the cameras, and he is spun coming out the hairpin. Down to P12, dropping behind Coxie and running low. Andreas is barely able to hang on to the ERS range of Lewis, but Lewis has burned a little bit more ERS, so he might be vulnerable in long term if Andreas does manage to continue to hang on to him. But Lewis seems to have great pace here. He was very dominant early on in qualifying. Andreas was able to get close to him in the end, but now in the race once again Lewis seems to have superior pace. I think once he gets him out of DRS, you should be able to pull ahead. The question is, can he actually get him outside 1 second? I think as long as Andreas is within the 1 second, it's going to be very difficult to pull away. Andreas does still have DRS because the DRS down the main straight is so powerful. You have yellow flags again for Forzan! Forzan has lost it through the S section! And that throws another spanner in the works now, as I think this will mean Jimmy's actually going to take P3 on track. Who now goes past Bray as well, forces him wide, Liam gets alongside. You don't really need to battle this Liam, he's going to serve the penalty anyway into this lap. He has to serve it this lap, otherwise he will be disqualified. And Flores has not served it. What is he doing? Why is Flores ignored the drive-through? That's baffling. Was he not told by the game he had a drive-through? I mean, you are like the lap before. He would have been told by the game you have to serve it when he passed the start-finish line 1 lap earlier. The game should give you a message: you have to serve the drive-through this lap, or you will be disqualified. And he has not served it. So he has indeed been disqualified. I'm not sure if that's down to some kind of game glitch where he didn't get the notification that either he didn't even know he had a drive-through, or he didn't get the notification he'd be disqualified if he didn't serve it on that lap. But if it isn't a game glitch, what a baffling mistake to ignore that. I have to say, I've never seen that happen at this high a level. I'm gonna assume it was a game glitch until I get told otherwise, because I can't believe that Flo's making a mistake like that. Yeah, very weird. But yeah, he's now out of the race fully. He doesn't have any chance to come back, unlike both Gonzalo and what's the other one in the penalty? Bray. There we go. Liam following Jimmy closely, wants to get up into top 3. Andreas and Lewis are now miles away from anyone, 7.5 seconds. As Shadow gets a 3-second time penalty. Flo is now leaving the session. I'm still just baffled by what has just happened. How has he done that? Yeah, we'll focus on the rest of the racing. Liam sticking close. Oh, we've got yellow flags again for... that must be T-Bay. In the middle sector, making a bit of a mistake. Coming out the S's, bit of a spin. Front wing seems to be in... no front wing damage on the front left end plate. So he's gonna have to make a pit stop as well. Forzan meanwhile trying to recover from his spin. It's on the back of IRT Taupe. Trying to back into the top 5 here. And maybe also chasing after Jimmy and Liam for the podium. Andreas has closed the gap to Lewis a little bit, but he's also burned now more ES than Lewis has. He had an advantage earlier. Jimmy now with a 3-second time penalty. I think it's the second one already, right? Yeah, 6 seconds of penalties for Jimmy already, very early on. So Jimmy really struggling with track limits around here. It's a very difficult track for track limits, to be fair to him. And now spin for Relentless car, that's Coxie! In the air section. The nightmare continues for Relentless. I mean, thankfully CPI aren't, I mean they're still in P2 and P6 actually, not that bad a race, but it could have been a lot better for CPI, they could be sitting P2 and 3 easily right now. Yeah, thankfully for Relentless CPI aren't having the best of races either, but they will surely not be liking this, as Liam now makes the move on Jimmy finally. You've got yellow flags coming out on the main straight. Liam actually deciding to pull out Shadow with a spin, that is, on the main straight. And that's the lapped car of T-Bay with a spin coming out of turn 3 as well. And now Liam up the inside of Jimmy, finally making the move stick this time. Jimmy trying to switch back, trying another switch back, but both times not able to make it work. And Liam up onto the podium. And will now be trying to pull away from Jimmy. Jimmy isn't actually much of an opponent for him, considering he has 6 seconds. He's more looking at Forzan. And we've got a full core safety car being deployed for a crash involving Shadow and Mike here. There's a full front wing and Shadow is just completely smacking the wall. What is he doing? He's retired out on track. Shadow choosing to not to drive back to the pits, to retire in the pits like you should, or I mean, it's a safety car, you might as well continue. The race was not over anyway. Lewis making a pit stop, Andreas as well. Interesting, now this could really help Tobe, as he will now be able to pit from hard and go to the end. So this could be really good for him. You actually have Jimmy and Liam both opted to stay out, not make that pit stop. I'm guessing Lewis, Andreas, Forzan, and everybody else who might pit for mediums now are doing a medium. Forzan is on softs. Interesting call. I mean, every time I see someone pit for softs in this game, under any circumstance, I'm surprised because they are so useless in the race, really. But yeah, this could be an interesting thing to look out for. Forzan on the soft compound tire. They don't last for long, really. But they will be significantly faster, of course, and especially the hard compound that Tope is out and behind. And Jimmy and Liam as well, the top 2 are on. Adela also now with a good opportunity, is sitting in P1 and P3, with Lewis having a significant tire advantage over Jimmy and Liam ahead. Once Lewis gets past Jimmy, it might be smart if Liam lets him go and then also tries to hold up Andreas to give Lewis a gap at the front. CPI are now right back in the fight as well with Forzan. He was, yeah, pretty far away earlier. I'm guessing he's... I mean, how long can he make those softs last? And then go to mediums? I mean... mediums can't go for much longer than 20 laps, so he should at least go to lap 16 ideally. Can he do that? And why is he passing the McLaren of T-Bay now? He's trying to pass, actually. Interesting. Yeah. Aside of that, we've had a few cars. Wessel deciding to stay out as well. Interesting. He could have pitted for Hart and got in the end. Rocco stayed out as well, and Cox are both relentless drivers. So yeah, only a few cars actually staying out. Liam, Jimmy, Coxie, and that's it. Those are the cars who have not done the pits in this race, I think. Of course, a few others made pit stops early on in the race and then didn't pit under this safety car. But those are the 3 who haven't pit at all yet. The safety car does now bring everyone who made mistakes earlier, which are a lot of people. We had a lot of spins and drive-through penalties and crashes in those opening 10 laps of the race. Very chaotic start. So they now all get the second chance to fight back and yeah, bring home some points from their team, despite the bad start in the race. But of course, this also spices up the 5 in the race again. Lewis and Andreas are no longer on their own. Forzan will certainly be looking to fight back here on those soft compound tires. Could also be a potential strategy for CPI to maybe try and slingshot Forzan on the first lap on the restart. Andreas giving him a slipstream and then Forzan trying to attack Lewis that way, making the double pass work with that slingshot as I mentioned. Or just Andreas letting him pass to let him attack Lewis on his own. Plenty of opportunities here for different team strategies to play out. X as well could be a contender for a team order, as Wessel has much older mediums than Bray does. But T-Bay, I mean, T-Bay is the only one in this race who is still, after the safety car, out of contention for the points realistically. He's a full lap down, not allowed to unlap himself, so he's gonna stay a lap down. And he's now a lap down to almost everyone as, yeah, I mean... Yeah, Bray is the first one who hasn't lapped him, so he's lapped down to P9 upwards, and Bray, Mike, Rocco and Gonzalo are gonna be right behind him after the restart as well, so... Yeah, not looking good for T-Bay in this race. I guess if there's another safety car and everybody else of him pits, he could come back in the race, but that's really the only way for him. And that's gonna be a big outside shot at him scoring a point in this race. Safety car should hopefully come in this lap. Hopefully at least. I would like to get back to racing. I think we're now on the 3rd lap of safety car, so we should be guaranteed to get the safety car in. Gonzalo should also catch up with the queue pretty soon anyway. So yeah, I'm very certain safety car should come in this lap and we'll be back underway for green flag conditions. And we'll see the likes of Lewis, Andreas and Forzan chasing down Jimmy and Liam. What did I say? Jimmy and Liam, sorry, for the race lead here in Mexico. Before that restart, we can also quickly go through the time penalties that we have seen in this race so far. We've got 5 seconds for Gonzalo, which must be either a speeding penalty or contact on the safety car, then 3 seconds for T-Bay and Coxie, I assume track limits, multiple warnings, something like that, and then Jimmy on 6 seconds of penalties. So despite being in P2, I would say Jimmy is not in a good spot here at all. He's on old tires, he has a big penalty. Yeah, really not an ideal situation to be in. Especially because those penalties are very hard to recover from. The only way to do it is to make, to build a big gap, which he's not going to be able to do on these old tires. But yeah, Liam now leading the field through the final sector. He sets the pace now. You can decide when to go for the restart. Safety car's now in the pits. And Liam goes basically on the apex of the final corner and catches Jimmy off guard. And a very good restart from Lewis allows him, I think, to immediately have a go at Jimmy here. He's right behind him. And Jimmy is too far away from Liam to get a significant slipstream. Lewis, is he able to pull alongside? Jimmy is burning all his ERS and making Lewis burn everything as well, but now up the inside, Lewis able to break later with the tire advantage, should be able to pull ahead. No, Jimmy's still staying right there. Lewis has to continue to fight this out through the triple chicane. But now, finally, no, Jimmy is still right there. Lewis on the outside, Jimmy on the inside. Andreas trying to get involved here, and Lewis outbreaks Jimmy into the second chicane. Jimmy trying the battle line on the exit, but cannot make it work. Andreas stuck behind him as well now. Forzan still behind his teammate as well for the minute. And Lewis has used a significant amount of ERS to get past Jimmy. Andreas having a look up the inside into the ERS makes it work, but that was certainly a tricky move as they made some contact. Thankfully for Andreas, for Jimmy as well, they both got away unharmed. Forzan now trying to move, and oh my god! And that's Jimmy out the race. Forzan with a spin as well. Forzan tapping him on the rear right tire. That's another safety car in this race. Forzan just squeezing himself into a gap that at least I would say was not there. That was probably on Forzan. And that's Jimmy out the race. That's Forzan with completely destroyed wing. Liam is now in the pits. Andreas and Lewis are staying out. Coxie's staying out as well, so he's still not making any kind of pit stop. Is anybody else making a pit stop? I don't think so. Even Western, 11 lap all mediums, not pitting. T-Bay is now out the race, finally tired in the pits. That's both Q2 drivers gone. We're down to 12 drivers already. Very chaotic race here. Liam coming out the pits in P10. Gonzalo serving that 5-second penalty. Forzan down to P11 as well after the incident. But he is still at least in the race. Meanwhile, Relentless, I mean, they are now back in a more favorable position, P7 and P3. Still, I think, well, they are outscoring CPI as of now, but that will probably change later on in the race, as I would say. Forzan's looking likely to go back up the field. But yeah, they are going to lose a lot less points after these two safety cars than they would have earlier. Without all of that chaos that certainly brought them back into the fight in this race. But it's still the same top two that we were seeing early on in the race. Lewis and Andreas. They've stayed out the... yeah, they've avoided all the incidents, hit a lot of chaos, stayed away from trouble, and are looking very strong now. Hopefully this will be the last safety car, because I really am running out of things to talk about during the safety car periods. I hope it's not too obvious. Doing my best here. Gonzalo should be catching up to the safety car on this lap, so hopefully we'll be getting back on the way on this lap as well. I'm guessing one more pit stop forever. I don't think... well, Taupe could get to the end, but I think that's the only one. I think everybody else is still on for one more pit stop in this race. That could be very good for Taupe, actually. I think Taupe has a good chance at, if there's no more safety cars, probably winning the race, because of making up a full pit stop advantage. I mean, the hard tire is very slow around Mexico, so maybe not, but I would say making up a full pit stop's worth of time could certainly be worth the significant disadvantage you have with the hard around here. So that's one to look out for, I think. Taupe maybe being chased down by Lewis and Andreas towards the end of the race, assuming there's no more safety cars, which I hope there isn't. I would like to keep this race in the green flags now. Bring it home clean to the end. We also have Liam, Forza and Gonzalo at the back on fresher mediums than anybody else. So those guys might have a good advantage, good chance to go through the field after the restart. But of course, I was talking about the ERS situation earlier. It's very difficult to recharge ERS. So they have to make sure not to burn everything too early and make those moves happen without using too much ERS. Safety car now in this lap. Lewis gonna be setting the pace through the final sector and deciding when to go for the restart. Yeah, Liam did a very good job for NLR last time, creating a big gap to Jimmy. Let's see if Lewis can do the same with Andreas. Actually shifting down to neutral here. Not sure if that was on purpose or not. He's going quite slowly, trying to create a big gap to the safety car. Safety car's not back in the pits yet. Lewis still not opting to go. And Lewis going very late, just before the line, and he hasn't caught Andreas all at all. Andreas is right behind him, but Coxey looks like he has run Andreas actually. It might be Andreas look behind, in fact, instead of in front. Coxey is trying to pull alongside to the outside now. 3 wide into turn 1. Lewis on the inside. Andreas in the middle. Coxey actually pulling out. Lewis stays ahead. Andreas getting forced onto the curb. Coxey trying to slip through, but he's on those old hard tires. It will be very difficult for him. Andreas burning his ERS to try and pull back alongside Lewis. Forza out the race, coming out of turn 3. Lewis on the inside, stays ahead of Andreas. He tries to go for the switchback, but he cannot pull alongside. Tries another switchback out of turn... oh, sorry. Very bad timing. Out of turn 5. Oh, sorry. That was horrible timing, yeah. Rocco now. Trying to get past Neon here as well, wanting to get back up the field for Relentless. But he isn't able to make it work in the air section, of course. But he might have a go on the main straight, going into the next laps. Lewis now pulling away slightly from Andreas. Used a lot less ERS throughout that battle. So advantage for Lewis in the moment. Meanwhile, Neon being held up here by Relentless Coxey and under pressure from Rocco. So in a bit of a Relentless sandwich going on here. And Rocco is trying to attack him, he's burning his ERS, and he's going to pull to the right hand side, pull alongside, and Rocco, significant overspeed, should get this done. I think Neon not even trying to defend all that hard. So he's actually happy to let him go and conserve his ERS for a later opportunity maybe. Meanwhile Liam as well, significantly far behind Mike and P10. Not sure what happened to him. Maybe he was involved in the incident with Forza, who's out of the race. As we've got a Relentless team order here apparently, I think. At least that's what it looked like. Rocco was pretty far behind his teammate going onto the straight, so I assume he's slowed down to let him through. Would make sense as well. He's on old hard tires against, well, not fresh mediums, but yeah, like a lot less worn out mediums. Neon putting pressure on him as well now. Wants to move up into the top 4 here. Of course, the penalty will play a factor at the end of the race, but I'm sure Neon won't want to lose too much time behind him anyway, even if he's gonna get him by the end on penalties anyway, as he has a bit of a lockup going into the hairpin. That will cost him a lot of time, and Coxie is able to pull away from him once again. Wessel on those very old mediums well, 14 laps. He might have to make a pit stop very soon. He is actually able to keep Taupe comfortably far away here, who himself is somewhat under pressure from Bray in the fight for P7, but Bray very low on ERS, so is Taupe. I think this will be a theme in this race, that a lot of drivers will be quite low on ERS. Mike, the only driver here who is not able to stay in that DRS train, of course Liam as well, but I think that was due to an incident. At least I assume he was behind, or was he was behind or ahead of Forza? He was definitely close to Forza because they both made a pit stop, so it would make sense if they were involved in some kind of incident that cost Liam the time and sent Forza out the race. Neon still not able to go past Coxie, but DRS, I think DRS should be open next lap, as Coxie now gets another 3-second time penalty. It's the second of the race. Yeah, he's now up to 6 seconds and he loses it! Oh! And Neon goes right into him, not able to avoid. They're both out the race. And that's another safety car in this race, down to 9 drivers. This has been one of the most chaotic races I have seen, I have commentated on. Of course, Lewis making pit stop, Andreas actually not making a pit stop. Very interesting, because he could certainly go to the end on mediums from here. So Andreas, not sure, hoping for another safety car. Lewis is in, Rocco is in, Taupe is staying out, Wessel is in, Bray is in, Gonzalo is in, Mike is in, Liam is in as well. So only Taupe and Andreas not making a pit stop here. And yeah, 9 drivers left after half the race being completed. A lot of DNFs in this race, really. Flawless in the disqualification. I don't even know what happened to all of them. I can't remember all of them. There's been too many. Very, very chaotic race tonight. I'm sure the stewards are not liking this one. They'll probably have a long weekend coming up. But yeah, but Andreas and Taupe, interesting call, especially from Andreas, because he certainly cannot go to the end in this race, so he's picking up track position that he will lose anyway later on. In Taupe's case, it does make some sort of sense. I would probably still have pitted in his position, but he's gonna go to the end anyway. Or he can go to the end. So at least this track position that he's getting is worth something. Andreas might hope that Lewis gets stuck behind Taupe for a long time, but I'm not entirely sure. I mean, we've had no safety cars actually, so maybe Andreas' tires are not even that worn out despite being 9 laps old, you never know. Yeah, safety car should be in the end of next lap, I think. Liam is already almost caught up here, so should be a short safety car period here. Taupe is now coming in 1 lap later. Interesting, not sure if he just missed the pit entry last lap, or if he's decided that his strategy was, or his strategy call earlier was incorrect and he would like to change it. Well, if he had pitted last lap, he would certainly be further up the field. He's now down to P9. I mean, his tires are 1 lap fresher, but I'm not sure that's worth the amount of track position that he has just lost by staying out for 1 more lap. But he should catch up in the safety car anyway, so he should get going end of this lap. And, I mean, in the end, he's not even that far down the field. He's P9. Like, it's not like he's far, far away from a good points scoring position. I almost said points scoring position. He's already in the points, but yeah, he's very close to the top 5 still, which I think is where he was earlier. I think he was sitting in P5 before the safety car, so he's only actually lost 4 places. Which, granted, is close to half the field in this race, though, so make of that what you wish. Yeah. Andreas now will restart the race. He's the only one who has not made a pit stop under the safety car. Everybody else did make a pit stop. Gonzalo actually on old hard tires should be able to go to the end, but he's going to be probably losing a significant amount of time compared to the cars around him. So chances are he's going to fall down the field. Safety car now in this lap. Andreas in the pace, and he's gonna have to defend from Lewis, who is on much faster tires, and Lewis will certainly be trying to get past him as early as possible, and then pull away from Rocco behind. Lewis should be significantly faster than the CPI driver here. So let's see if he can make the move stick. Safety car is now almost back in the pit lane. Andreas, is he gonna go this early? No, he's still warming up the tires. Andreas not opting to go just yet. Safety car is back in the pit, he could go. He's waiting very late. Andreas now going and he's caught Lewis off guard a little bit. And Rocco, actually with a great restart, could take P2 in this race. He's alongside Lewis. Oh, and there's more cars coming. Wessel and Gonzalo trying to pull alongside, but they aren't able to actually. Lewis on the inside, trying to defend the position, braking late. And it's going to turn the outside for turn 2, back to the inside for turn 3. Rocco has to pull out. Lewis secures P2. Wessel stays ahead of Gonzalo. Bray trying to attack Gonzalo as well now on the exit of the corner. Rocco trying to come back at Lewis here. Down the second sprint of the track. But Lewis squeezes him out a little bit, I think. And Rocco cannot make the mistake. Lewis stays on P2 and is now able to chase after Andreas for the race lead. Meanwhile, in the lower end of the points, no big movements here. I think Gonzalo is going to hold these guys up to the S significantly, so they're going to want to get past him as early as possible so they can stick to that top 4 of Rocco. Now it is third time penalties race, up to 9 seconds, I think. Also its first penalty. Oh no, it was the first penalty. Coxey was the one with 6 seconds. Wrong relentless driver. Bray still stuck behind Gonzalo. Liam also not able to go with a move. Neither is Tobe, and Mike barely within the ERS range. So, Lewis a lot lower on ERS than Andreas, as he had to burn a lot to battle Rocco. So he might have to wait for the DRS to activate to actually make the move on Andreas. And that would probably be the sensible decision as well, to make sure he has enough ERS to defend long term from Rocco. Bray now going for the move on Gonzalo for P5. Has to get past Irene, can't be stuck behind him for any longer than needed. Gonzalo though defending well on the inside, squeezes him a little bit onto the onto the worst line, making contact there, and Liam slips through on the inside, on the exit in the corner, Tobe as well. Now the better exit, as Gonzalo was significantly impacted by that contact, and he's dropping down. Although Gonzalo trying it around the outside of Liam, but allowing Tobe to actually slip through, as that is, actually ruined his exit for the next corner. He's still right there though. Tobe trying to hang around the outside and makes it work, and Gonzalo losing 3 places in the span of 1 in the bit sectors to Bray, Liam and Tobe. They're now 2.5 seconds behind Wessel and P4, so the front 4 pulling away massively here. And I'm sure Mike will also be trying to get past Gonzalo soon. But still, I mean, how much longer until Andreas actually makes his pit stop? Because 12 lap mediums, they're gonna be... I mean, how long do mediums last? On a normal strategy, they last 16 laps. I guess it could make them last about 20 as Gonzalo's now had a spin in the final sector. Andreas will certainly have to make a pit stop. He might try and go for soft at the end. To just do something here, to try anything to fight back in this race. I don't know. I don't really know what Andreas' plan was when he didn't pit on the safety car. I'm sure he had some kind of plan. But for now, he's not going to be able to go to the end. He's going to be slower than the cars behind him. And he will end up in last place after his pit stop. At least as of now. He might, I mean, he still has some time to build a gap to the cars behind him. I'm sure Lewis will want to avoid that though, as he's going to have to try and get past him here actually. Of course not here, he's gonna have to wait for the main straight. Rocco is about 8 tenths behind, so he's not really much of a threat. Very low on ERS compared to Lewis as well. This might be Lewis's chance, the DRS finally being activated. Might have a goal to turn 1. Just has to make sure to keep the car under control now. ERS being activated and DRS activated in just a moment as well, although he's not actually following Andreas to the inside to get the slipstream. But this should still be an easy move for Lewis here, the DRS advantage. Andreas out of ERS and Lewis up the inside. Andreas still on his outside though, but he cannot stay alongside through the braking zone. Lewis takes the lead of the race, and Rocco is a full second behind almost. He's still stuck by Andreas. Good chance for Lewis now to actually pull away and create a 1 second gap to P2 in this race. If he can pull away from Andreas, or if he can't, to at least get a 1 second to Rocco, so that once Andreas pits, he's gonna be outside 1 second to anyone. I think he should be safe from the attack by Andreas at least. Andreas very low in ERS, tire disadvantage as well. But he does seem to still have some decent pace. He's not really being caught by Rocco that much, if anything at all. But he is able to stay within the second of Lewis barely. Wessel is actually not close to Rocco, and Rocco is to Andreas. Andreas is gonna be within the S range. I think he was just about outside it, but we'll see as he goes onto the main straight. What about Rocco as well? Did Rocco the DRS? Because he's also outside the second at the moment. Lewis getting faster in the race. No DRS for either of the two, I think. And that means Wessel has a good chance of attacking Rocco soon. Unless Rocco can catch back up to Andreas. Wessel is closing in quickly, and Rocco will have another straight without the ERS, and he's very low on ERS, and Wessel knows it. He sees the flashing light on the relentless car, and surely Wessel will try and take a chance here. Would he go for it? He should go for it. This is really his best chance now. But he is not gonna go for it. So, if Rocco now managed to stay in DRS range, Wessel might have just blown his best chance at making the move on Rocco's stick. I mean, he's probably still gonna get a chance later, as Rocco is gonna be a low on ERS for the rest of this race. But still, that was a weird choice by Wessel not to burn his ERS to pull alongside and try to make the move stick and get up into P3, or not P2, once Andreas pits, because Andreas will certainly pit. Rocco is almost at 0% ERS, he's barely within the DRS range of Andreas still. One lap for 24 to 36. If Andreas wants to go to soft, he has to stay at for a few laps longer. And he isn't pitting yet. Wessel, I think, made a mistake actually in the final sector, because he's dropped outside DRS range. Oh yeah, he just about managed to hold on actually, but he is outside 1 second at the moment. Lewis has pulled away by 1.8 seconds already, so he is miles clear. Andreas on 0%, Rocco on 2%. So yeah, not low of ERS to go around in the top 3 at the moment. But the only real battle on track right now is Andreas, Rocco and Wessel. Nobody else is within DRS range to each other. And it doesn't look like any of the 3 is capable of attacking any of the other 2. Wessel probably has the best chance, given that he still has some amount of ERS left. But he has to close the gap to Rocco first. He's at the moment a bit too far behind. Ideally, he wants to move in 3 or 4 tenths going onto the main straight. He might also just decide to play it smart, play the long game, stick behind him, and just let the position get to him on penalties. He doesn't actually need to make an overtake. And especially if Lewis is gone anyway, there's no incentive to make the overtake, because there's no potential gain of a P1, and the P2 he has secured anyway. So he might as well actually let Rocco stay ahead, and not risk an incident by pulling alongside and making a risky overtake, or maybe risking to lose time. It might be worth it though if he wants to slow down Rocco to make him lose some time, get a break closer, get him within the 3-second range of Rocco, and get his teammate onto the podium as well. But yeah, once again, nobody of the 3 really able to make a move on those DRS track, but you can still see the flashing on both Andreas and Rocco's car. So surely Wessel can sniff the opportunity to pull past him and I mean, maybe in safety car put himself in a position to attack Lewis. Because if the safety car does come out, he doesn't want to have Rocco stuck between him and Lewis still, in case he wants to have any chance of a race win. How many safety cars have we had by now? 3? Including a VSC 4, so I think we can have 1 more safety car in this session. The limit is 5. I'm assuming VSCs count, we are on 4. Although of course there aren't many drivers left in this race to cause a safety car. Only 9 drivers, so yeah, not a lot of people who could crash out to actually cause one. Wessel burning a little bit of ERS. Might have a go here. I don't think he is, so he's a bit too far behind. But maybe going into the next raid, if he gets a good exit compared to Rocco. Avoiding the curbs, playing it safe. Lewis continuing to build his gap at the front. Neither Rocco nor Wessel able to make a move. Once again. They might just be waiting for the last lap, and Andreas is continuing to stay out. We're now at lap 27. I mean, his tires are 18 laps old. He'd end up on 27 lap old tires if he decides to go to the end. Which, I'm not sure that would work. I don't think it would. I think his tires would end up puncturing or losing multiple seconds a lap. I think he'd be better off making a pit stop. Because then he can still chase after some people and maybe secure at least a decent finish for CPI. Rocco is now recharged a bit of EAS, he's above 10%, but he's immediately burning it to an attempt to pass Andreas here. He's desperate to make the overtake stick, but he just cannot make it work. He's got nothing left. If he had any amount of EAS left, it would be an easy overtake. It might still work actually, as Andreas also has no EAS, and he's sending up the inside, and finally Rocco has gotten past him. And now Wessel needs to try and follow through, because he cannot let Rocco pull away here. And Wessel indeed is using the EAS, he's got the EAS on Andreas as well, but he's not gonna go for the move. He could have definitely gone for it, but he turned the EAS off. Wessel is being very conservative here. So does he trust Andreas to stay with Rocco? And does he think he doesn't need to actually make the move? Or is he just not at all confident to make those moves? I'm not sure. Or if he's just being really careful with the EAS, not wanting to end up in the situation Andreas and Rocco in right now, where they are stuck basically at below 10% EAS. They are constantly flashing the red light, indicating that they are below 10%. And that is just what Mexico is like on this game. There's absolutely no EAS recharge. Those two straights are really too long to for the recharge to be significant enough to gain back any amount of EAS really. Wessel is now burning a little bit going into the straight, but he's too far behind once again. I think he's burning a bit more. I think he does want to go for the move, but he was wanting to be very conservative about it, not burn any more EAS than he really needs to. But I think it might actually be smart to just burn everything at once instead of burning 5 or 6% a lap and it not really doing anything. Brain now with a 3-second time penalty, and that does secure Rocco a P3 at least in this race, I would say. Assuming Andreas pits, which he might actually not, because he stayed out for so long now, he might as well try and go to the end. 7 laps to go. I mean, if you haven't pitted at this point, you might just try to hang on. But those tires are surely going to drop off significantly if he does, and he's going to drop outside the 3-second range to Rocco. At least that's my prediction. Might still hang on to a P4. I'm not sure. I mean, I guess we'll never know what could have happened if he had pitted in a safety car. He probably would be up there with Lewis right now, I would say. Lewis, yeah, completely forgot about him basically. I mean, we've basically only been watching Wessel, Andreas and Rocco these past few laps and nothing else really going on throughout the field. The gap between Bray and Liam is 3.6 and yeah, so Bray will keep the position on penalties anyway, unless Liam can close into him. Wessel, once again, I think he's too far behind to actually go for a move on Andreas. We'll have another lap of those three just staying inside the EAS range to each other and not actually battling. Although Wessel looks like a good exit there. He is close, he might go for it. Burning a little bit of EAS and then turning it back off again. So once again, Wessel... The weird thing is, if he's just wanted to stick behind, he wouldn't use any EAS. But he's always using that little bit on every straight, and then turning it straight back off. So it's almost like he's indecisive. I mean, either you want to burn the EAS and go for the move, or you don't want to touch it to keep as much as you can, because these little 3 or 4% you burn every lap, those add up. And then once you actually don't want to go for the move, you won't have enough left. It's an interesting strategy from Wessel to, like, certainly know what I would be doing in this situation. I would either just leave the EAS off and stay behind, or I would burn the entire way throughout the straight to get past and get the move done. Because eventually, he will have to make the move, and then he will need the ERS. Andreas still sitting there in P3 on very old tires, but at the moment, no signs of a significant pace drop-off. I mean, well, he was on pace with Lewis earlier, now he isn't, clearly, so despite being on old tires, he's able to keep up with these two, which is very impressive. The question is, how much longer can those last? Can he bring this to the end at this pace, or is he gonna drop off towards the back end of this race? I mean, the tires don't look horrendous. I guess the very long safety car periods and the big amount of safety car periods that we had have helped there as Rocco makes a mistake. And Rocco drops behind Andreas, does retry ahead of Wessel. But Rocco now losing track position to Andreas once again. That's gonna hurt Wessel. Because Andreas is the car that Wessel will have to overtake. Because at this point I'm sure that Andreas is gonna stay out. Andreas making a mistake as well, inviting Rocco to send one back up the inside. And now basically full contact made between Wessel and Andreas. As Andreas goes very slowly for the hairpin. Hopefully no damage on either car. Seems fine though as they're both staying out. Bray is closing in quickly now. And this is what I mean. Wessel had this opportunity earlier. And now he's stuck behind. Despite both making mistakes, he's still behind them. He should have taken his chance when he had it. Andreas now trying to make a move on Rocco once again. And now Wessel finally gets another chance. And this time, oh, they make contact in a bit. And they make big contact. Wessel is off. Wessel is into the wall. And Wessel solely has wing damage. And his teammate goes past him as well. Contact made between Andreas and Wessel on the exit of the triple chicane. Wessel missing the front right end plate. And he's gonna lose a lot of pace now in these final 3 laps. Is he gonna stay out though? Because I think he might stay out anyway. Because the pit stop might lose even more time than driving around with that damaged wing. So Andreas now on for probably a P2 if he can stay within the penalty range of Rocco. Wessel, I think he will be passed by Liam, but the gap to Tope should be big enough to bring the car home in P6 despite the damage. The question is, can Bray challenge Andreas and Rocco now? He's also very low on ERS. Liam almost in DRS went off Wessel already, but there's not many laps to go, so yeah, I think it would make sense for Wessel to just nurse the car home and take a P6, and yeah, that's what he's doing, he's not pitting. And certainly Liam will get past him soon, but yeah, he should indeed. 9 seconds to Tope between, well, actually 11 seconds to Tope from Wessel and 9 from Liam. Andreas still able to stay within the DRS range of Rocco, which is crucial. Because I think once he drops outside DRS, he will lose a lot of time. This straight line advantage he has through the DRS is certainly keeping him in contention. But his tires are 24 laps old. They have gone off the cliff for sure. I mean, you can see that he's being a bit more careful, I think. He's turning in very smoothly, being very careful on the throttle. If you compare this to, I mean, of course, Rocco's in controller, so it doesn't look the same, but so Spray actually. If you compare this to Lewis, I think he's on wheels, so yeah, Lewis is a lot more aggressive on the throttle. You can see he's turning in earlier as well, or turning in more heavily earlier. I mean, he's also not like sending the car into the corner like a madman, but and there we go. Liam now getting past Wessel. I assume Wessel didn't put much of a fight, not really much use to battle him. Yeah, it might also be important for Bray to get past Andreas soon now, because if he loses too much time behind him, he might still end up in danger of getting passed by Liam. 4.6 seconds to gap. Bray has a car on very old tires in front of him. Can Liam gain those 1.7 seconds he needs? Of course, gonna lose a bit. Or actually, Wessel coming back at Liam, or trying to anyway, he has to brake earlier, and Liam is able to take the corner normally, not even losing any amount of time really in defending from the ex-driver. Only 3 laps to go now. Bray still behind Andreas, who's now losing a lot of time to Rocco. So I think Dale's tires have definitely gone off the cliff now. Hopefully for him he can get those nerfs at the end and take home a P3 still. I think a P2 is out of the question as Rocco is gaining probably 2 seconds a lap at this stage. Or close to it at least. And Bray will have to try and get past him as soon as he can to build a 3-second gap to him as well if he can. Or at least make sure he doesn't let Liam get within 3 seconds. Meanwhile, Lewis out front, 10 seconds away, all on his own. And this time I think Bray should be able to go for the move, although Andreas has a bit more years. He might be able to defend this if he wants to. The ER is open for Bray, but he's got absolutely no ERs left, but neither does Andreas. Can Bray pull alongside? I think he will, and that will make the move easy for him, as he will of course be able to brake much later on those better tires who have not completely been destroyed yet. And Bray up into P3 on track. Andreas holding on to that 3-second gap to Rocco for now, but for how much longer? 2.6 seconds to get between him and Rocco now. And he's gonna be outside 3 seconds by the end of this lap for sure. Has to hope that he even stays within 3 seconds of Bray and doesn't... well, might also have to hope he doesn't get caught by Liam. I think that there's a very real possibility of that. His tires will only get worse in this race. You can see he's having to be so careful. One mistake and the car will immediately step out on him. The question is also, I mean, is he anywhere close to a puncture even? Could he end up getting a puncture now on the final lap, which Lewis is now starting? Race lead, I think he also has the fastest lap to add. Yes, he does, 17.336, and I'm very confident he will keep that, as everybody is on old tires and they don't really have much of a chance of beating it. And I mean, fair play to Andreas actually. In fact, I thought pitting would be better, but I don't think he would be in P4 right now had he pitted. Although, pitted for mediums after the safety car, I mean. Probably should have pitted under the safety car though, which he did not do, but after that he made the best of the situation he was in, and he is still probably gonna end up on the podium, at least in P4. Could be close with Bray, as he's now 1.8 seconds away. If Bray can gain 1.2 seconds on this last lap, which he has a good chance of doing, he might get the podium of Andreas. But Lewis is entering the final sector of this lap. A great race from him. He was only really fighting Andreas early on. The only driver who could match his pace, but after the safety car, he was all on his own. And he's going to end up winning by 11 seconds on track, and then 14 seconds on penalties. A great drive from Enela Lewis today, here in Mexico, and a very well-deserved race win. As he actually... Oh, I was very scared he would bend over the line, but thankfully... thankfully his car crossed the line, so he is counted as the race winner. And there we go, Rocco getting a P2 in the end, and it's Bray in P3. Oh, this could be close, this could be close. Andreas barely gets him. Just about. That was very close, I think. Liam in P5. Yeah, 6 thousandths of a second in favor of Andreas in the end for the podium. Wessel in P6. Taupe ending up in P7. It will be Mike in P8 and then Gonzalo in P9. And then I'm not sure if Relentless Cox will actually get those points for P10. Yeah, but Coxie, Neon, Forza, Jimmy, TBA Shadow, Lab, and Flores having DNF'd, well, Flores actually being disqualified. Yeah, a very chaotic, a very exciting Mexican Grand Prix, at least for the first part of the race. Second part, still some action, but probably died down a bit. But I would say still a decently enjoyable race, and Rocco gets to drive today, of course, having started last and finishing second. That was a foregone conclusion, and a great dive from Rocco as well today. Even with the penalty, it didn't end up costing him a place. And he can be very proud of himself. But the man of the hour, Enela Lewis, a great race from him today. Once again, all the tops of the podium. And very good points for Enela, with both drivers in the top 5. I think it was Lee. I think Lee was in P5, if I remember correctly. So they might be mounting a challenge for the top 3. I'm not entirely sure what the how the standings will. They haven't done the maths to calculate those, but I'm sure the event organizers will do so before next week. Talking about next week's race will be in Saudi Arabia. Yeah, the 25th of May. And of course, the Jeddah circuit a very, very tricky circuit as well for the drivers. I mean, I'm not sure if we can match the amount of DNFs we have today. When we had 1, 2, 3, wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 DNFs. So, yeah, close to half the grid DNFing today. A truly crazy race here in Mexico. I hope you enjoyed it. I certainly did. And yeah, I'm not sure if I'll be on comms next week again. I didn't think I'd be on comms today either. Yeah, hope you enjoyed the race. Hopefully you'll be watching again next week, either commentated by me or somebody else. I'm certain there'll be someone. And yeah, goodbye.